On a bitterly cold winter night, Samuel trudged through the narrow, dimly lit alley that led to his modest apartment. His breath formed clouds in the air as he clutched his worn coat tightly around him, hoping to escape the biting wind. Suddenly, a faint whimper reached his ears, cutting through the silence. He squinted into the shadows and saw a small figure huddled against the brick wall, shivering violently. It was a little girl, no older than 4, her wide eyes filled with fear. Samuel's heart ached at the sight of her, alone and vulnerable. Without hesitation, Samuel knelt beside the girl, speaking softly to calm her. "Hey there, little one. What's your name? Where are your parents?" he asked gently. But the girl only stared at him, her lips trembling, unable to speak. She seemed lost, not just physically, but emotionally, as if the world had suddenly become too vast and frightening for her to comprehend. Samuel wrapped his coat around her frail body, feeling her shivers subside slightly as she leaned into his warmth. He knew he couldn't leave her out here, not in this cold, unforgiving night. Carrying the girl in his arms, Samuel made his way back to his small, cluttered apartment. The journey was silent, save for the occasional sniffle from the child, who clung to him as though he were her only lifeline. When they arrived, the warmth of the apartment enveloped them, a stark contrast to the icy streets outside. Samuel gently set her down on the old, worn sofa, noticing how fragile she appeared under the dim light. "I'll call you Anna for now," he whispered, seeing no recognition in her eyes when he asked her real name. The name seemed to bring a small sense of comfort to her. Over the next few days, Samuel searched tirelessly for any sign of Anna's family. He posted flyers, asked his neighbors, and even visited the local police station, but every effort ended in frustration. No one knew anything about a missing child. The city, with all its bustling life, seemed indifferent to the plight of a little girl lost in its midst. Samuel's heart grew heavier with each passing day as the realization set in. Anna might truly be alone in this world. Despite his own struggles, Samuel couldn't bear the thought of her being placed in a cold, impersonal system. As days turned into weeks, Samuel and Anna settled into a new routine. She followed him around the apartment, her small footsteps echoing softly in the quiet space. Samuel, who had long since resigned himself to a life of solitude, found unexpected joy in her presence. Her laughter filled the rooms, turning mundane chores into moments of shared happiness. When Samuel cooked, Anna would stand beside him, her curious eyes watching his every move. These simple, everyday moments created a bond between them that neither had anticipated, a bond that grew stronger with each passing day. Despite the warmth and love that now filled his life, Samuel couldn't shake the lingering fear that Anna's past might one day catch up with them. He often found himself lying awake at night, wondering if someone was out there looking for her, someone who might take her away from him. The thought was unbearable. Anna had become his reason for getting up each morning, the light that had driven away the shadows of his once lonely existence. But for now, he chose to push those fears aside, focusing on the happiness they had found together in their little corner of the world. Anna, too, seemed to thrive under Samuel's care. She quickly learned to trust him, her initial wariness replaced by a deep affection. Every evening, they would sit together on the sofa, Samuel reading aloud from the few old books he owned while Anna listened intently. Her favorite stories were the ones with brave heroes and happy endings, tales that made her eyes light up with wonder. Samuel, watching her, couldn't help but feel a swell of pride. He had never imagined himself as a father, but here he was, giving this little girl a sense of safety and belonging that she had so desperately needed. The bond between them grew stronger with each passing day. Samuel taught Anna how to read and write, guiding her small hands as she carefully formed each letter. The pride in her eyes when she managed to spell out a word was enough to melt Samuel's heart. He realized that Anna had given him something he had never had before, a purpose. She had turned his small, lonely apartment into a home filled with love and laughter. Yet, despite the joy she brought into his life, a shadow of doubt lingered in Samuel's mind, a fear that their fragile happiness might one day be shattered. As winter gave way to spring, the two of them would often spend time outside, enjoying the rare moments of sunshine. They would walk to the nearby park where Anna would run and play, her laughter ringing out across the green fields. Samuel watched her with a mixture of joy and sorrow, knowing that these peaceful days might not last forever. He was painfully aware that their situation was precarious, and that one day the world might come knocking on their door, demanding that he give Anna up. But until that day came, he would hold on to her as tightly as he could, cherishing every moment they had together. Samuel had stopped searching for Anna's family, realizing that in many ways they had already become a family of their own. He had found a kind of happiness he had never known before, a fulfillment that went beyond material wealth. Anna had brought light into his life, dispelling the darkness of his past. But even as they forged this new life together, Samuel couldn't shake the feeling that it was all too fragile, that their little world could come crashing down at any moment. And so, he clung to the present, to the laughter and love that filled their days, hoping against hope that it would be enough. As the days passed, Samuel and Anna settled into a new rhythm, their lives intertwining in a way that neither had anticipated. Samuel, who had lived alone for so long, found himself adapting to the presence of this little girl with surprising ease. His once quiet apartment was now filled with the sounds of Anna's laughter, her playful chatter echoing through the rooms. Every morning, she would wake up with a smile, eager to start the day by his side. Samuel, in turn, found joy in the simple routine they had established, a routine that brought a sense of normalcy to their otherwise uncertain lives. Despite his limited means, Samuel did everything he could to provide for Anna. He worked long hours at the factory, his body aching from the physical labor, but the thought of returning home to Anna gave him strength. He would bring home small treats whenever he could, an apple here, a piece of bread there, delighting in the way her eyes lit up at these simple gifts. For Anna, these little gestures meant the world. She never asked for more, content with the love and care that Samuel gave her. In her eyes, he was the hero of every story he read to her, the one who made her feel safe and cherished. Anna thrived under Samuel's care, her once timid nature blossoming into a confident, happy child. She would follow him around the apartment, mimicking his every move with a sense of purpose that made Samuel smile. Whether he was fixing something or preparing a meal, Anna was always by his side, eager to help. Samuel, who had always thought of himself as unimportant, found a new sense of worth in her admiration. He realized that, in Anna's eyes, he was more than just a poor man struggling to get by. He was her protector, her guide, and most importantly, her father. Evenings became a cherished time for both of them. After a long day of work, Samuel would sit down with Anna, sharing stories that filled their small home with warmth. Anna would curl up beside him, her head resting on his shoulder as she listened intently to his deep, soothing voice. The stories he told weren't just about faraway lands and brave knights. They were about the values he held dear: honesty, humility, and resilience. Samuel wanted Anna to grow up understanding the importance of these virtues, believing that they would guide her through whatever challenges life might throw her way. Anna, in turn, absorbed these lessons with the eagerness of a child who has found something truly precious. She would often repeat Samuel's words back to him, her innocent voice filled with conviction. "Always be honest, Papa," she would say, her eyes wide with sincerity. Samuel's heart swelled with pride every time she spoke like this, knowing that he was shaping her into a person who would one day make the world a better place. The bond they shared deepened with each passing day, strengthened by the love and respect they had for one another. But life wasn't without its challenges. Samuel often worried about the future, about how he would continue to provide for Anna as she grew older. His job at the factory was unstable, and there were days when the weight of his responsibilities felt almost too heavy to bear. Yet whenever he looked at Anna, he found the strength to keep going. She had given him a reason to fight, to push through the exhaustion and the fear. Samuel knew that as long as Anna was by his side, he could face whatever difficulties lay ahead. Together, they had created a life filled with love, and that, he believed, was more powerful than anything else. Anna never complained about the modest life they led. For her, Samuel's love was enough to fill the gaps that poverty might have left. She didn't need fancy clothes or expensive toys. What mattered to her was the time they spent together, the stories they shared, and the security she felt in his presence. Samuel marveled at her resilience, at how she could find joy in the simplest of things. He realized that Anna had taught him as much as he had taught her. Through her eyes, he saw the world in a new light, one where love and kindness outweighed all else. As time went on, their bond only grew stronger. Samuel continued to teach Anna, not just about the world, but about the values that he believed were most important. He knew that one day she would face challenges of her own, and he wanted her to be prepared. But more than that, he wanted her to know that she was loved unconditionally and without measure. This love, Samuel believed, would be the foundation upon which Anna would build her life. It was a love that transcended the hardships they faced, a love that made their little home the safest place in the world. And so, they continued their journey together, navigating the ups and downs of life with a sense of unity that neither had ever known before. Samuel no longer thought of himself as alone. He had Anna, and that was all he needed. The future was uncertain, but for now, they had each other, and that was enough. Together, they had created a new life, one filled with hope, love, and the quiet contentment that comes from knowing that, no matter what, they would always have each other. It was a life that neither of them had expected, but one that both had come to cherish deeply. One sunny afternoon, Anna played joyfully in the neighborhood park, her laughter echoing across the green space. Samuel sat nearby, watching her with a sense of pride and contentment that had become familiar over the past few months. But as he observed, something caught his eye. A woman, elegantly dressed, standing at the edge of the park, her gaze fixed intently on Anna. The woman's expression was one of shock and recognition, as though she had seen a ghost. Samuel's heart skipped a beat, a sense of unease creeping into his mind. Who was this woman, and why was she watching Anna so closely? As Anna continued to play, the woman cautiously approached her, her steps hesitant but purposeful. She knelt down beside Anna, asking her name with a voice that trembled slightly. Anna, innocent and trusting, smiled and told the woman her name, mentioning Samuel as the man who took care of her. The woman's face paled at this revelation, her eyes filling with a mixture of emotions that Samuel couldn't quite read from a distance. She asked Anna a few more questions, her voice growing more urgent with each one. Finally, with a look of deep sorrow, the woman stood and walked away quickly, leaving Samuel with a gnawing sense of dread. That night, as Samuel was preparing dinner, there was a knock at the door. His heart raced as he opened it to find the woman from the park standing on the doorstep. Her presence brought with it an air of authority and determination that immediately put Samuel on edge. "May I come in?" she asked politely, though her tone left little room for refusal. Samuel nodded, stepping aside to let her enter. She introduced herself as Emily, a private investigator, and wasted no time in explaining why she was there. The words that followed hit Samuel like a punch to the gut. Emily had been searching for a missing child for years, and Anna matched the description perfectly. Samuel's mind reeled as Emily laid out the details of her investigation. The missing child had disappeared under mysterious circumstances years ago, leaving a family devastated and desperate for answers. As she spoke, Samuel felt a cold sweat break out on his forehead. The life he had built with Anna, the bond they had formed, suddenly felt like it was hanging by a thread. Emily showed him a photograph, and there was no denying the resemblance. Anna was almost certainly the child she had been searching for. But how could this be? How had Anna ended up alone in that alley on that fateful night? Emily's revelation left Samuel in a state of shock. He had never imagined that Anna's past could be so complicated, so fraught with unanswered questions. The thought of losing her to this unknown family filled him with a deep sense of fear and sadness. He had grown to love Anna as his own daughter, and the idea of her being taken away was unbearable. But Emily was insistent. The family had been searching for Anna for years, and they had a right to know that she was alive and safe. Samuel struggled to find the words to respond, his mind clouded with confusion and dread. Over the following days, Samuel couldn't shake the feeling of impending doom. Every time he looked at Anna, he was reminded of the possibility that she might be taken away from him. The thought consumed him, robbing him of the simple joys he had once found in their daily routines. He became distant, lost in his own fears, and Anna noticed the change. She would ask him what was wrong, her innocent eyes full of concern, but Samuel couldn't bring himself to tell her the truth. How could he explain that everything they had built together might be ripped apart? The weight of the situation bore down on Samuel, turning every moment into a painful reminder of what he might lose. He knew that he had to make a decision, but every option seemed fraught with heartache. Should he fight to keep Anna, knowing that it might mean denying her the chance to reunite with her biological family? Or should he let her go, trusting that she would be happier with the people she came from? The dilemma tore at his heart, leaving him sleepless and anxious. No matter what he chose, someone would be hurt, either him or Anna or the family that had been searching for her all these years. Samuel tried to learn more about Anna's past, hoping that understanding the full story might help him make the right decision. He questioned Emily, digging for details about the circumstances of Anna's disappearance. But the more he learned, the more complicated the situation became. There were hints of family disputes, whispers of secrets that had been kept hidden for years. Samuel's heart ached as he realized that Anna's past was far darker than he had ever imagined. Yet, despite everything, he couldn't help but feel protective of her. She was his daughter in every way that mattered, and the thought of losing her was unbearable. As days turned into weeks, the tension between Samuel and Emily grew. She was determined to do her job, to reunite Anna with her family, but Samuel couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. He began to suspect that there was more to the story than Emily was letting on, that perhaps the family's motives weren't as pure as they seemed. But with so little information to go on, Samuel felt trapped, caught between his love for Anna and his fear of the unknown. He knew that a decision would have to be made soon, but he was terrified of what the consequences might be. The days following Emily's revelation were a torment for Samuel. He couldn't escape the thought that he might lose Anna, the one person who had brought meaning and joy back into his life. The weight of the decision he faced pressed down on him, robbing him of sleep and appetite. Should he let Anna return to the family she was born into, even if it meant losing her forever? Or should he fight to keep her, knowing that he might be denying her a better life? The uncertainty gnawed at him, leaving him restless and anxious. Every moment with Anna now felt like it could be their last. Samuel watched Anna with a mix of love and sorrow, his heart breaking at the thought of being separated from her. He had spent the past months nurturing her, teaching her, and loving her as if she were his own flesh and blood. The bond they shared was something he had never known before, deep, unbreakable, and filled with a love that transcended the hardships of their life. But now, that bond was threatened, and Samuel didn't know how to protect it. He feared that whatever choice he made, it would leave a scar on both their hearts. At night, when the world was quiet, Samuel would sit by Anna's bedside, watching her sleep. She looked so peaceful, so innocent, completely unaware of the storm brewing around her. Samuel's thoughts would race, trying to imagine life without her. But every scenario felt empty and hollow. How could he go back to the way things were before Anna? How could he face each day without her laughter, her questions, her love? The very idea of it was unbearable. Yet he knew that this might be the reality he would soon have to confront. As the days passed, Samuel found himself thinking more and more about Anna's future. He knew that her biological family could offer her things he never could: comfort, stability, opportunities. They had the means to give her a life free from the struggles that he had faced every day. But Samuel also knew that material wealth wasn't everything. What about the love they shared, the connection that had grown between them? Could that ever be replaced? Samuel feared that no matter how comfortable her new life might be, Anna would lose a part of herself if she left. The more Samuel thought about it, the more he realized that there was no clear answer. Every option was fraught with pain and uncertainty. He felt like he was being asked to choose between his own happiness and Anna's future, and the weight of that decision was crushing. Samuel's heart told him to hold on to Anna, to fight for the life they had built together. But his mind whispered that perhaps it would be selfish to keep her, that maybe the best thing he could do for her was to let her go. The conflict tore at him, leaving him feeling helpless and lost. One evening, as they sat together in their small apartment, Anna looked up at Samuel with those big, trusting eyes. "Papa, why are you sad?" she asked, her voice filled with concern. Samuel's heart ached at her words, but he couldn't bring himself to tell her the truth. How could he explain the turmoil inside him without shattering her innocence? Instead, he forced a smile and told her that everything would be okay, even though he wasn't sure if he believed it himself. Anna seemed to accept his words, but Samuel knew that he couldn't hide the truth from her forever. As the days turned into weeks, Samuel became increasingly desperate for a solution. He began to consider the possibility of finding a compromise, a way to keep Anna in his life while also giving her the chance to know her biological family. But even this idea was fraught with uncertainty. Would her family accept such an arrangement? Would Anna be confused, torn between two worlds? Samuel had no answers, only more questions. The situation felt impossible, and no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't find a way out that didn't involve losing something or someone he loved. Samuel knew that time was running out. Sooner or later, he would have to make a decision, and the thought of it filled him with dread. Every day, he felt the pressure mounting, the sense of impending loss growing stronger. But amidst all the fear and uncertainty, one thing remained clear. Samuel loved Anna with all his heart, and he would do anything to protect her. The challenge was figuring out what that meant, whether it was holding on to her or letting her go. It was a choice that no parent should ever have to make, yet it was the one Samuel now faced. In the end, Samuel knew that whatever he decided, it would be driven by love. Whether he kept Anna or let her go, it would be because he believed it was what was best for her. The thought gave him a small measure of comfort, even as the fear of losing her loomed ever larger. Samuel knew that the road ahead would not be easy, but he also knew that he had to face it head-on for Anna's sake. He would find a way to protect her, to give her the life she deserved, even if it meant sacrificing his own happiness. It was the hardest thing he had ever faced, but he knew he had no choice. As the pressure mounted, Samuel knew that the time to make a decision was rapidly approaching. The family of Anna, now aware of her whereabouts, had sent their lawyer to negotiate her custody. The lawyer, dressed in an immaculate suit, spoke with a calm authority that only heightened Samuel's anxiety. He listened as the lawyer explained the family's position. They were grateful that Samuel had taken care of Anna, but they believed she belonged with them. Samuel's heart pounded as he realized the gravity of the situation. This wasn't just a conversation. It was the beginning of a battle for Anna's future. Samuel couldn't help but feel a sense of resentment toward the lawyer and the family he represented. Where had they been all this time? Why had they only now decided to search for Anna? The anger simmered beneath the surface, but Samuel knew that showing it would do no good. He tried to remain calm, to listen to the lawyer's arguments with an open mind, but every word felt like a blow. They spoke of the opportunities they could provide for Anna: a good education, a comfortable home, a life free from financial worries. But to Samuel, these promises felt hollow. What about the love and security he had given her? The lawyer's visit left Samuel feeling more conflicted than ever. He knew that the family could offer Anna things he never could, but he also knew that material wealth wasn't everything. The love they shared, the bond they had built, was something priceless, something that couldn't be replaced by money or privilege. Samuel spent countless hours agonizing over the decision, weighing the pros and cons in his mind. He would pace the small apartment late into the night, trying to imagine life without Anna, but the thought always left him feeling empty and lost. Anna, sensing the tension in the air, began to ask questions. "Papa, what's going to happen to us?" she asked one evening, her voice tinged with worry. Samuel's heart broke at her innocence, at the fear he could see lurking in her eyes. He wanted to reassure her, to tell her that everything would be okay, but the truth was, he didn't know what the future held. He could only hug her tightly and whisper words of comfort, even as his own doubts threatened to overwhelm him. The weight of the decision pressed down on him, making every moment with Anna feel bittersweet. As the days passed, the pressure to make a decision became unbearable. The lawyer continued to visit, each time presenting Samuel with documents that outlined the terms of the custody agreement. They were always polite, always respectful, but Samuel could see the determination in their eyes. They wouldn't stop until they had Anna back. Samuel felt cornered, trapped by circumstances that seemed beyond his control. He began to wonder if he was being selfish by wanting to keep Anna with him. Was he clinging to her out of fear of loneliness? Or was it because he truly believed he was what was best for her? Samuel's thoughts became a tangled mess of love, fear, and uncertainty. He knew that if he let Anna go, he would be giving her a chance at a life he could never provide. But he also knew that losing her would break his heart in ways he couldn't even begin to imagine. The lawyer's words echoed in his mind, a constant reminder of what was at stake. Samuel began to feel as though he were being torn in two, unable to find a solution that wouldn't end in pain. Every option felt like a loss, and the fear of making the wrong decision gnawed at him day and night. In the midst of this turmoil, Samuel began to question his own motives. Was he truly thinking of what was best for Anna, or was he driven by his own need to keep her close? He loved her more than anything in the world, but was that enough? Samuel wrestled with these thoughts, trying to untangle the complex web of emotions that had taken hold of him. He knew that the decision he made would shape not only his future, but Anna's as well. The responsibility weighed heavily on him, leaving him feeling helpless and afraid. As the deadline for the decision approached, Samuel knew that he couldn't delay any longer. The family's lawyer was growing impatient, and Samuel feared that if he didn't act soon, the decision would be taken out of his hands. He began to feel a sense of urgency, a desperate need to protect Anna from a future that was uncertain and out of his control. But even as he considered his options, Samuel knew that there was no perfect solution. No matter what he chose, there would be consequences, some that he might never be able to live with. In the end, Samuel knew that he had to make a decision based on love, not fear. He had to put Anna's needs above his own, even if it meant facing the possibility of losing her. The realization brought him a small measure of peace, but the fear of what was to come still lingered. Samuel knew that the road ahead would be difficult, but he was determined to face it with courage and resolve. For Anna's sake, he would do what was right, even if it meant sacrificing his own happiness. It was a decision born of love, and that, Samuel believed, was the only thing that truly mattered. The day of the final meeting arrived, and Samuel felt as if a storm were brewing inside him. The tension had been building for weeks, and now everything was about to come to a head. He had agreed to meet with Anna's biological family one last time, hoping to find some clarity, some truth that would guide his decision. The family arrived with their lawyer, their expressions guarded but determined. Samuel's heart raced as they sat down, the weight of the moment pressing heavily on his chest. This meeting would change everything, and he wasn't sure if he was ready for what was about to be revealed. As the conversation began, Samuel could feel the air thick with unspoken words. The family spoke of their desire to reunite with Anna, of the guilt and regret that had haunted them since she disappeared. But there was something in their tone, something that made Samuel's skin prickle with unease. He listened intently, trying to piece together the truth from the fragments of their story. And then, almost casually, a detail slipped out that made Samuel's blood run cold. The family had not lost Anna by accident. They had abandoned her, left her behind in the midst of a bitter dispute over the family's fortune. The room fell silent as the truth hung in the air like a heavy fog. Samuel's heart pounded in his chest as he processed the revelation. They had abandoned Anna, a mere child, over money. The thought was abhorrent, twisting Samuel's insides with anger and disgust. He looked at the family, searching their faces for any sign of remorse, but all he saw were expressions of discomfort, as if they had been forced to confront a truth they had long buried. The realization hit Samuel like a punch to the gut. These were the people who wanted to take Anna away from him. The shock of the revelation left Samuel reeling, his mind racing to make sense of it all. How could they have done such a thing? And why, after all these years, had they decided to come back for her? The answers were clear, yet deeply unsettling. The family had realized the error of their ways, but their motives were tainted by the same greed and selfishness that had driven them to abandon Anna in the first place. Samuel's protective instincts flared up, his love for Anna burning brighter than ever. He couldn't let these people take her away, not after everything they had done. Samuel's anger boiled just beneath the surface, but he kept his composure, determined to get through the meeting without losing control. He asked the family why they had come back now, after all this time. Their answer was as hollow as it was predictable. They wanted to make amends, to do what was right. But Samuel could see through their words. This wasn't about Anna's well-being. It was about their own guilt, their need to absolve themselves of the burden they had carried for years. Samuel's resolve hardened. He would not let them use Anna to ease their conscience. As the conversation continued, Samuel felt a growing sense of clarity. The truth had been revealed, and it had confirmed his worst fears. The family's interest in Anna was not rooted in love or concern, but in a desire to erase their past mistakes. Samuel knew that he had to protect Anna from them, to shield her from the consequences of their actions. He realized that the love he had for Anna, the bond they had built, was far stronger and more genuine than anything these people could offer. The decision that had once seemed impossible now felt clear. He had to fight to keep Anna with him. The meeting ended, but the tension lingered in the air. The family left, their expressions a mix of frustration and resignation. Samuel watched them go, feeling a sense of relief that was tempered by the knowledge that the battle was far from over. He knew that they wouldn't give up easily, that they would continue to pursue custody of Anna through legal channels. But Samuel was ready. He had the truth on his side, and more importantly, he had the love and support of the one person who mattered most, Anna. She was his daughter in every way that counted, and he would do whatever it took to keep her safe. That evening, as Samuel sat with Anna, he couldn't help but feel a sense of peace, despite the turmoil that lay ahead. The truth had been revealed, and it had given him the strength to fight for what he knew was right. He looked at Anna, her innocent eyes full of trust, and he knew that he had made the right decision. No matter what happened, he would protect her. The road ahead would be difficult, but Samuel was prepared to face it with courage and determination. The love he had for Anna was a powerful force, one that would guide him through the challenges to come. In the days that followed, Samuel began to prepare for the legal battle that loomed on the horizon. He reached out to a lawyer, determined to fight for custody of Anna with everything he had. The truth had given him a renewed sense of purpose, a conviction that he had never felt before. He knew that the odds were stacked against him, that the family's wealth and influence could tip the scales in their favor. But Samuel had something they didn't: a deep, unwavering love for Anna, a love that had been forged through hardship and sacrifice. It was this love that would give him the strength to keep going, no matter what obstacles lay in his path. With the truth now out in the open, Samuel felt a renewed sense of determination to do what was right for Anna. He knew that he couldn't fight this battle alone, so he sought out legal advice from a trusted attorney. The lawyer, a kind and understanding woman named Evelyn, listened carefully as Samuel recounted the entire ordeal. She understood the depth of his love for Anna and the bond they had formed. After discussing the situation, Evelyn suggested a solution that could benefit everyone: a shared custody arrangement that would allow Anna to know her biological family while remaining in the care of the only father she had ever known. The idea of shared custody was daunting to Samuel. The thought of having to share Anna, even partially, with the very people who had once abandoned her filled him with dread. But Evelyn assured him that this arrangement could work in Anna's favor. It would give her the opportunity to know her origins, to understand where she came from, while still maintaining the stability and love she had found with Samuel. Samuel wrestled with the idea, torn between his instinct to protect Anna and his desire to do what was best for her. In the end, he knew that Evelyn was right. This could be the best way forward. Samuel approached the family with a proposal, unsure of how they would react. To his surprise, they agreed to the arrangement, albeit with some hesitation. They recognized the deep bond between Samuel and Anna, and while they were eager to be a part of her life, they also understood that ripping her away from the only home she had known would do more harm than good. The lawyer formalized the agreement, and for the first time in weeks, Samuel felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps this compromise would allow Anna to have the best of both worlds, a connection to her past and a future filled with love. As the details of the agreement were finalized, Samuel prepared himself for the changes that lay ahead. He knew that the transition wouldn't be easy for him or for Anna. There would be visits to her biological family, time spent away from the home they had built together. But Samuel was determined to make it work. He wanted Anna to feel secure, to know that she was loved by both families. He spoke to her about the upcoming changes, gently explaining that she would be meeting new people who were also part of her family. Anna listened quietly, her young mind processing the information with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. The first meeting between Anna and her biological family was tense, filled with awkward silences and hesitant smiles. Samuel stayed close by her side, his presence a source of comfort and reassurance. The family, though clearly uncomfortable, made an effort to connect with Anna, offering her small gifts and kind words. Anna, in her innocent way, accepted their gestures, though Samuel could see the confusion in her eyes. It was a lot for a young child to take in, and Samuel's heart ached as he watched her try to navigate this new reality. He knew it would take time for her to understand, to feel comfortable with this extended family. Over the next few weeks, Anna began to adjust to the new arrangement. She spent time with her biological family, learning about her heritage and the life she had been born into. But each time she returned to Samuel, it was with a sense of relief, as if she were coming back to the place where she truly belonged. Samuel noticed how her face lit up when she saw him, how she would run into his arms with a smile that made all the uncertainty worthwhile. It reassured him that despite the changes, their bond remained as strong as ever. Samuel, too, found himself adjusting to the new dynamic. He learned to let go of some of his fears, to trust that Anna's biological family truly cared for her and wanted what was best for her. They might not have started with the right intentions, but Samuel could see that they were trying to make amends. Slowly, he began to see them not as adversaries, but as partners in Anna's life. It wasn't easy, and there were still moments of tension and doubt, but Samuel knew that this was the best way to ensure that Anna's future was filled with love and support. As time passed, the shared custody arrangement began to feel less like a burden and more like a blessing. Anna was thriving, growing more confident and happy with each passing day. She had two families who loved her, two homes where she was welcomed with open arms. Samuel watched with pride as she blossomed, her laughter filling the rooms of their small apartment, her joy a testament to the love that surrounded her. He knew that he had made the right decision, even though it had been one of the hardest of his life. Anna was happy, and that was all that mattered. In the end, Samuel realized that family wasn't just about blood or lineage. It was about love, commitment, and the willingness to put someone else's needs above your own. He had fought for Anna because he loved her, because he wanted to protect her, and in doing so, he had found a family of his own. The road ahead might still have challenges, but Samuel was no longer afraid. He knew that as long as Anna was by his side, they could face anything together. And in that knowledge, Samuel found a sense of peace he had never known before. As time passed, the shared custody arrangement settled into a comfortable rhythm, and Samuel found himself reflecting on the journey that had brought him and Anna to this point. He remembered the cold winter night when he first found her, a small, frightened child alone in the darkness. So much had changed since that night. Both of them had grown in ways they never could have imagined. Samuel had discovered a depth of love he hadn't known he was capable of, and Anna had blossomed into a bright, confident girl, surrounded by people who loved her. Looking back, Samuel realized that their journey had taught him more about family than he ever thought possible. Family, he had come to understand, wasn't defined by blood or legal ties. It was defined by the bonds of love, the sacrifices made, and the commitment to stand by each other no matter what. Samuel had given everything he had to protect Anna, to ensure that she felt safe and loved. In return, Anna had given him a sense of purpose, filling his once lonely life with joy and meaning. Their connection went beyond words, beyond the material world. It was a bond that had been forged in the fires of hardship and had emerged stronger than ever. Samuel thought about the family that had come back into Anna's life. The people who had once abandoned her, but had now chosen to make amends. It hadn't been easy to accept them, to trust that their intentions were genuine. But over time, Samuel had seen that they, too, were trying to do what was best for Anna. They had recognized their mistakes and were working to build a relationship with her, one based on love and understanding rather than guilt and obligation. In the end, Samuel had learned to see them not as rivals, but as allies in Anna's life. Together, they had created a support system that gave Anna the best of both worlds. The journey had been full of challenges, but it had also been full of moments that Samuel would treasure forever. He remembered the way Anna's face lit up when she came home after a visit with her biological family, her excitement as she shared stories about her new experiences. He remembered the quiet evenings they spent together, reading or talking, just enjoying each other's company. These moments, small and simple, were the ones that mattered most to Samuel. They were the moments that reminded him that, despite everything, they had built a life filled with love and happiness. Samuel knew that the future would bring new challenges, new hurdles to overcome, but he also knew that they would face them together as a family. The love he had for Anna, the bond they shared, would guide them through whatever lay ahead. It was a love that had been tested and had only grown stronger with each trial. Samuel felt a deep sense of peace, knowing that he had done everything he could to give Anna the life she deserved. She was his daughter in every way that counted, and nothing could ever change that. In the end, Samuel realized that the true meaning of family was found in the connections we build, the love we share, and the commitment we make to each other. It wasn't about wealth or status, but about being there for one another, through thick and thin. Family was about the choices we make to love, to protect, and to support those we care about. Samuel had chosen to love Anna, to fight for her, and in doing so, he had found a family that went beyond anything he had ever known. It was a family built on trust, understanding, and unconditional love. As he looked at Anna, now a little older and wiser, Samuel felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. He was grateful for the journey they had taken together, for the lessons they had learned, and for the love that had grown between them. Anna had brought light into his life, transforming his world in ways he could never have imagined. She had shown him the true meaning of family, and for that, Samuel would always be thankful. No matter what the future held, he knew that they would face it together, with the strength of a love that could weather any storm. As Samuel and Anna's story comes to a close, we're reminded of the profound power of love and the true meaning of family. If this story touched your heart, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss more stories like this one. Click the notification bell to stay updated on our latest videos. And if you enjoyed this journey, give this video a thumbs up. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What did this story mean to you? And don't forget, you can support us by following the Buy Me a Coffee link in the pinned comment. Together, let's continue to explore the stories that remind us of what truly matters in life.